Hey, everybody. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm never sure exactly why it does what it does, but that intro, for everybody out there's watching, you can see and hear the whole intro. And we just hear this little burst at the end. It's brrr, and then we start. So I don't know what's going on, really. Welcome. How are you today, Hafiz? Are you doing all right, buddy?
I'm doing great. I'm super excited because we have George joining us today. And I've had the chance to message back and forth with you just about trailer things way back when. But the fact
Yeah.
that we get to talk about trailers and animation and like just cool board game stuff, I'm super excited.
We
Well,
could
thank
also
you
just
for
have a
having me.
tour around George's office, and that would be fun too.
You guys are always welcome to come. Calgary anytime. I'll show you the dungeon slash museum. But thanks for
That
having me. I'm
sounds
so
like a
excited.
Threat. That actually sounds like a threat and a
Does
Yeah,
good
it?
don't
time.
don't threaten us with a good time, George, because we'll take you up on it.
Thank you so much for inviting me. I'm so excited to see you and to talk about all this stuff. I'm Greek, and already from meeting with me, I can talk forever. So you're in luck.
Yeah, there you go.
Perfect
Um,
guest.
so for anybody who doesn't know what George does, George, tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do in the game field.
Yeah, that's my pleasure, and I'm honored to be here. But ever since I was a little kid, I discovered the camera, and then I started making movies. I always like to joke and tell this story that when I was growing up in Greece, I made my first horror movie when I was like 8, and it starred my mother, and she was the murderer, and she killed all my friends, and we had such a good time. And I think if I didn't have the my mom's support in terms of like, sure, raid my closet, sure, mess the whole house with blood and whatever, I just haven't put the camera down since, is what I like to say. And my journey kind of led me through a bunch of different companies, and I was in video games for a while. Did a lot of corporate videos, music videos. I did a stint of 4 years of wedding videos. I loved telling people stories and how they met and stuff like that. And then my love for games suddenly kind of collided about 7 or 8 years ago. And Roxley Games is here in Calgary. Gavin is a dear friend of mine, and he's 5 minutes away right now. He lives very close. And I remember thinking, like, I want to do something with Santorini. So that's what started it all. I did this little video. I called it like the cinematic journey. I don't know. Oniro is my company, by the way, and I do video work primarily for the board game industry. We work with a lot of publishers, but that's how it all started. It was a little video I did for Santorini, and then I ended up losing my day job around the same time, and I decided that's it. I just want to do this full time, and the company was born then.
And for anybody who doesn't know, what does the name of the company mean?
Yeah, it's actually a Greek name, a Greek word. It means dream, and I like to say, we try to bring people's dreams to life. We used to work, especially in the beginning, with a lot of first-time publishers and designers, and they had this dream of their board game that they've been trying to work on for many, many years, and it was sometimes the first time seeing their game, like, in real life, moving, even though it was 3D animation, but you know what I mean. So that's kind of
Hmm.
where it was inspired from, and I've always love that word in Greek. It's kind of
Hmm.
spelled it differently, mostly for people not to be able to pronounce it. I've heard many different versions of it, but it's like
Onairo.
Onairo, but it's actually Oniro.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think it's really interesting that the first game that you chose to
isn't
make
that
a
fun?
video about is a Greek themed game. And it was always, by the way, for anybody who ever wonders if, what comes first, the theme or the mechanics, or did you paste a theme on that afterwards? That game was always about Santorini. Ever since it was invented by Gord Hamilton, the designer and
Gord is a lovely
mathematician.
person as well. Yeah.
Yeah, he's wonderful. He was actually out here just a while ago, and we were gonna get together, but I was out of the city at the time. Anyway, we actually had a fight over that name, Gordon and I, because our game Akrotiri, which came out actually
Exactly.
many years before Santorini did, for whatever reason, um, it was originally called Santorini as well, based on the dig sites that were there, and so we had to change our name because Gord, designed it first, and we changed it to Akrotiri, which was the historical dig site on the islands there. And it's
Well,
funny because, yeah, go ahead.
I'm sorry. I'm also Greek, so I will interrupt you many times tonight.
Yeah, of course,
I
that's
was
okay.
going to say, having known both of you and both games, it kind of
Yeah,
like I'm so glad that happened in a way because they both have their perfect names.
yeah, and that game. Go So it's funny because Gord had been pitching it around, pitching it around, pitching it around, and as the story goes, whether this is apocryphal or not, I can't tell you because I wasn't always there. I was there for lots of this story, but not all of it. Um, I believe Gavin has always said, like, if I ever get to be a publisher, and this is Gavin in Gavin's voice, I'm gonna make that game because I think it's just like an awesome game, dude. Gavin does kind of talk like that, so that does sound a little bit like Gavin. But yeah, he had always talked about making that game for a long, long time, but it was this weird two-player game and quite abstract, and it was wood and blocks and all these things that just made it like maybe not the best game to make until they did it, and then it just exploded, and it did really so well for them that
Hmm.
it's just a great story of Roxley becoming what it is today, when brass and all that stuff and
It's
whatnot can just
incredible, yeah. I'm
just
so
like
proud of
yeah
everybody there, and like I know I haven't really said much about kind of what we do or my company in general, but I know Gavin has been instrumental in a way at the beginning, especially where I had this idea for how the company would operate. I didn't know many people in the industry, and I had this idea for a subscription service, so we were like the first to. It's kind of like a retainer type thing, but
yeah
I was trying to figure. It was mostly because I didn't have a job anymore, so I'm like, how do I
yeah
create something that generates like monthly income to allow me to do this continuously and full time? And he was wonderful at the time to give me some advice. He thought the idea was great, and he also said, "We'll be the first subscriber," which honestly helped so much when people realized that a company like Roxley would, trusts a company like us, and we were, very new to everybody. It helped immensely. So 7 years later, I just look back and I'm always very grateful for him
hmm
for that moment. But yeah, and honestly grateful for the whole industry. I don't know. You probably talk about this a lot, and everybody I talk to agrees with me. The industry in general welcomed me. I was just this new person, and it wasn't just like, oh, great, we'll support or we'll work with you or anything like that. I've never advertised. It's just been always word of mouth, people introducing me to people. Oh my God, have you met George yet? Or, it's just been so positive and incredible. And I've just been very yeah, I've been in other industries before where there was lots of competition, and like the first thing I did is reach out to people who were doing similar things, like you guys are familiar with Ori and David,
yeah
and so now
Hmm.
we've had for years this group chat because we are not really competitors. We help each other. We talk almost daily. It's just so wonderful. We've had clients where they go first to me or to Ori or to David, and then back to, and they're like, oh, I just talked to another person. I'm like, oh, was it Ori or was it David? So we all surprise everybody when we
I
say
mean,
that.
those are the
That's
3 names that come up the most when
mhm.
people ask for, "Can you give me the name of a, good high
Oh,
quality person to help me with my trailer for Kickstarter or whatever they're doing?" And it's always, the big 3.
oh, that's really nice of you to say. There are some
Yeah.
incredibly talented people also beyond us three, but and I've had the pleasure of working with a few of them, and their work is incredible too. But it's also, I think, the industry is changing. A lot of people are starting to jump on. It was very niche, and I have seen a lot of new talent coming
Mhm,
out, and some people where we look at a video, we're like, oh, I wonder who made this. We
mhm.
don't know. We have no
Yeah.
idea. But it's great to
And
see. But yeah.
and it's funny. I actually learned about you through David. I was reaching out to him. He's like, you you should talk to George. And then we reached out, and you're like, so was it Ori or was it was it David? Like it was David.
We do
But
the
then I
same
did
all
talk to
the
Ori,
time.
who also mentioned the two of you. And then the three of you started a channel where you would look at other game trailers that I think some were created by one or the three of you, but some of them weren't as well too. So
Those
how
were
did
the
that come
days.
around? And then what were things you were looking at? Like, do you find inspiration by looking at other people's creations?
That's a very great question. Thank you. And you just brought me back. Those were the days when we all had time, you know. We had such a fun time doing that, and I know it didn't last as long as we all wished it would. But yeah, we generally we all got so busy, which is a great thing. But I do fondly remember what we did is we just decided because at the time we didn't see many channels or YouTubers tackling that subject. There's a few people now that do a great job of like looking at a Kickstarter campaign, and so we at the time wanted to see could we through looking at videos that exist or campaigns, of course we focused mostly on the videos because that was at the time our expertise or our interest, I guess I would say. So we would try to get inspired by them like you said, but also provide some content or sorry some feedback or some comments that could be helpful for people going forward, and also for us just to learn what works, what doesn't. We looked at a lot of the videos from a very fresh perspective. Like we would watch it together for the first time without having seen it before, just to see, hey, did that speak to you like as a gamer? Like if you wanted this is this a type of game you would be interested in, and did the video do a good job at like bringing you into the world if it was like a story driven game or theme was important, or are you looking more for the game mechanics side of things? And did it do a good job as a video without going into a full on how to play to get you excited to like scroll down and subscribe. So I think we're learning as well by doing that exercise. And as far as inspiration, it goes for many many years and continues to be like movies and TV shows. We love animation. We love all kinds of things, and I think that's true for all of us because we're, I mean, as you can tell, big geeks, and we kind of love that whole thing.
Yes, and for anybody who doesn't know, George is like a huge fan of the Aliens franchise. He absolutely
Just a
adores
little bit,
xenomorphs.
yeah.
Just a little. Okay, cool. So that is really neat. I actually forgot that you guys did that, like doing like the breakdowns
I
of
almost forgot
the
too.
right of the videos of other campaigns, and I do think it's really really helpful to like hone your critical eye but also articulate it, right? So verbally articulate it to somebody else so that they can understand why you feel the way you feel or why you do what you do. And that's like the craft, right? Understanding your craft means that you can not just do it, but you can articulate it, you can explain it to somebody else, like the whys and wherefores of why that video caught my eye was because of X, Y, and Z.
Yes.
It's good to say if the video caught my eye, that's like one thing, but then the next level, like peeling back that onion layer of stuff that's on top to get to the bottom, the juicy bits, I think is
and
really really critical.
And the truth is, this is just the beginning because when we do a deep dive with clients, we are always going to talk about things like your target audience. Who's this game speaking to? Who are you trying to target so they can, support your campaign? Like, by doing that, we want the video to also, and sometimes it's more than one type of person that they're going for, but we always try to see, number one, number two, number three, but then the video has to do a good job at targeting the main target audience, but also the rest of the people that we want to maybe back this campaign. So it's a very fun exercise, because you can think of like this cool introduction. Oh, I saw this movie once. I really want to recreate that intro, but with our game or something like that. And I'm like, yeah, that sounds cool. Let's do it. But if you're going into it kind of like blindsided by this inspiration or excitement or whatever without exploring what is your game about, who is it targeting, that could be a miss. Even though it could be a cool video, and I could show it in my show reel, and it would be really cool to see. Like you said, it could catch your eye, but is it going to actually work in your favor when you're trying to capture people's, you know, I was going to say attention or votes, but literally scrolling down and hit the pledge button.
Mm.
Yeah, and you
I've been
mentioned that when you were looking at other games, you were kind of thinking about how did the trailer resonate with you. I'd imagine it's kind of difficult to take something that it you experience through playing, by handling the pieces, by going through the journey of a game. But you now need to take that and put it into a visual form for someone who's never picked up a component, never held the box. Um, and so, how do you do that translation of a, hey, here is the game, but here's not a 20-minute how to play video?
Yeah, that's a good question as well. I mean, if your target audience was new players or people who are not really already enjoying our lovely hobby, then we would want to ensure that we even the voiceover that we choose, like if there is voiceover, but nowadays
In a
more
world.
exactly. Will it mention things like easy to learn, or that kind of
Hard to master.
or would it, yeah, or we actually had a video recently that the script had that exact line. But we were just saying,
Is that the live, love, laugh of board games
It
descriptions?
is
Is
totally,
that, yeah.
totally,
I think it
totally.
Okay.
is, yeah. But for the audience you're describing, you want to make it a fun, exciting, welcoming type of video to this hobby, and you're trying not to scare people away by saying, it only takes 9 hours, like that kind of thing. So, and it depends on the kind of game that you're making a video about, and if that's one of the target audiences that people want to attract, we have to make it good. We have to keep that in mind throughout the whole process, from what the voiceover is saying, from how much time are we spending in the story portion of the video, or how we're conveying it. For example, if it's a fun party game, but then the client initially might say, it would be cool if we have a 3D video for this and 2D video because we have beautiful, cute art and stuff. And normally that would be a cool way to go. But if you really, it's a party game and you want to get people that are unfamiliar with the hobby, and everyday people, or there's certain situation or age groups, we should do a live action video, show people having fun, see it in their face, without really acting. And that's the kind of video that's maybe perfect for you. So it goes beyond what you say in the script. It's also like, what kind of video are we going to create for the type of game that you have? So many times we've had these conversations where it starts off with, we've seen this video of yours, we'd like to do something similar, and then we do something completely different at the end after having the conversation. But I love that. That's the fun stage, where you get to know the client and they know their game so much better than you do. And then you kind of challenge them because they've lived in that world for so long typically. And then you come in as someone with like, oh, but have you thought of this? And maybe we should try that. And we work with many clients that I'm very blessed to have. I had a, no pun intended about the word dream again, but I had a dream list when I started the company, and I'm so proud to say and humbled to say that I've scratched those names and more. Like I mentioned Roxley, we have like Brotherwise, we have like Chip Theory, Fantasia Games, AG, Cardboard Alchemy, Paizo. The list goes on now, and I'm so proud of the team and us being able to work with them. But everyone works differently. Some people would be like, George, here's the script, here's the name of the game, this is what we want, go. Follow all of this. And other people are like, we have no idea, please do everything for us, including script and everything. And I'm kind of like somewhere in the middle. You guys know your games the best. We will spend some time getting to know you, the game, where did the inspiration come from, what's it like, how does it play, what's the theme or world. And then we talk about your target audience. Is this your first campaign? Are you launching on Kickstarter, GameFound, BackerKit? Like that also plays a big role. And then we go from there. And then we can, of course, take over, create the script if needed, and then go back and forth. But it's a fun process. And I'll stop talking now for now.
No, it's okay. If you look down, you'll see like this little header that says, "What makes a good trailer?"
Hmm.
Do you have like a quick list, a checklist of things that you think that you have to like kind of hit in order to say, "Oh, this trailer did its job. It met its target." I know you said this. I put this up when you started talking about getting knowing who the audience is.
Mhm.
So I think that's like quintessential. Like a good
Yeah.
trailer will resonate. I think those words came out of your mouth many times, right? Resonate,
Yeah.
resonate, resonate with the audience. But can we dig down just like a step deeper? What makes a good trailer resonate with its
Yeah.
intended audience? So once you know who your audience is,
Yes.
what are the elements that we can piece together sonically, visually, script wise, narratively, all those things that you're doing in like 3 minutes or less, usually?
Yeah, and much less these days with attention spans. getting shorter and shorter. So I love that question so much. What makes a good trailer? And that's such a difficult question to answer without giving you a million of situational examples of, in this case, this is what makes a good trailer. In this case, this is what makes a good trailer. Like for me, for instance, what makes a good trailer, maybe because, I love movies and I do this for a living for so many, many, many years. I look at a trailer and I want to see a successful combination of elements such as music, voiceover, and visuals to get me excited. The editing of the video is really important to me. Like, how is it edited? How does it keep me engaged? That kind of thing. But if we were looking at it, what makes a good trailer for a game in this case to resonate for that particular audience? I think the answer kind of lies within understanding what your audience is interested in. So, for example, do they like theme over gameplay, or are they more interested in seeing game mechanics? Is this your first game? How are they going to trust you if it is? And if it isn't your first game, how are you going to remind them that you can do this again because you've already done it before? For if we go down into the detail, like in more detail of that particular game, what are its strengths? Is it that it has some extremely unique game mechanics we've never seen before? Should we focus on those? And if so, yes, you should focus on those, and maybe don't spend a minute and a half of the video talking about theme if your target audience cares about mechanics and you happen to have some really unique mechanics there. Um, I feel I'll give you another example of what makes a good trailer. If, let's say, you have no budget and you had to do it yourself, and from a technical perspective, you only had, let's say, an iPhone or whatever, and you wanted to make a trailer about your game, you can still make a really good trailer if you really pay attention to what your audience is going to look for. But from a quality perspective, the interesting thing that I always like to tell people, and they don't believe me sometimes, is it's actually the audio. Just invest on a good microphone and a good recorder or something like that, or hire a voice actor, which are fairly cheap to hire, because and music is everywhere. You can license music for very cheap too. If your audio quality of your voice, even if it's you doing it and you're talking about your game, even if the visual is not 100% perfect, uh, then your video will be a good trailer, because I would say audio ruins everything. Bad audio will ruin everything, and you won't pay attention to it. So that's my little advice for if anyone is doing it on their own. But yeah, I hope I answered the question. But I feel like there's so many aspects of what makes a good trailer that we always ask that what would make a good trailer for your game, and then we have a bunch of questions that follow up that.
Yeah.
Fine.
I,
Oh, sorry, go first,
See?
son.
No, see, this is my point, right? So even in this, right, when we disconnect audio wise, or we're talking over each other, or before when we had the problem of lag, it was like the worst. And it wasn't the video at all. It
Yes.
was the audio that just kind of took us out of the element, right? And it's why really good audio, like a night, like a good like THX kind of room where it's like warm and this the in a world. It's why in a world, that voice, that deepness, resonant voice that just worked, and that era of movie trailers to like draw you in. It's a little bit cliche now, obviously, but the concept of sound being such an accompaniment to visual, um, it's kind of primal in nature, I think,
I
right?
agree.
Our brain can deal with janky video for some reason, but it just does not get over bad audio at all, ever. And working in podcasting, I mean, that's obvious to me, that it's funny. This is actually a true thing. In podcasting and in audio, there's this thing called compression. And we have this issue where podcasts, when you run them through certain servers, they actually have this sort of lower limit.
Mhm.
Um, and you have to make it you have to run it through like a processor that makes it at exactly, or should make it at minus 16 LUFs, which are like just this specific range of volume, so that it's even and it's not too loud during the loud spots and not too soft during the
Right.
soft spots, because otherwise you have people going, what was going on with this? I couldn't hear the soft parts. The loud parts were too loud. And anyways, it's this whole thing that you have to do.
You
Uh,
just touched on it takes you away from the experience, and you don't
yeah.
want that. And they're subconsciously, they don't like. I'm not saying people will think about the audio if it's good. They're just going to automatically assume it's a professional production, regardless of how much effort or money you spent into it. So that's where I say to people, if you were to spend some money, do it on the audio first, and then whatever visuals you can do. If it's just even you playing in the game, or using your phone showing the game, as long as it sounds good, people will follow it.
Hmm. I agree.
The in the world reminds me of a certain kind of trailer, right? Like that was a very action oriented heavy blockbuster from the 90s and early 2000s. And I'm wondering, as you've been going through creating games, you mentioned the audience. Do you feel like there's certain tropes or certain conventions for trailers based on the kind of game? Like you mentioned party games. Do those tend to be more, well, you mentioned they tend to be more like actual physical people because you want to get that feeling across. But does a heavy Euro have a certain vibe that you lean into? Does a sports game have a certain vibe you lean into? Does a family game kind of take this other approach?
Yeah, and no, that's a really good question, and that's exactly what happens most of the time. But I like to also turn things upside down sometimes, because it's nice to shake things up and get people like surprised and not anticipate what happens. And you see this a lot with Ori's work too, which I love. He's brilliant at bringing comedy into things.
Mm,
There's a lot of new ways that you can, and you can see this too in more on the independent movie side of things. But a lot of people are trying to combine a certain type of music you wouldn't expect in a horror film, or like the music in It Follows was one of my
mm,
favorite things about that movie. It's just very neat if you can kind of like, now that you're aware of the ingredients and what the recipes are usually like, can we shake it up a bit if the game allows it, right? But most of the time, it's interesting because clients will come often with that preconceived sort of like recipe in their minds, or and you should go look at places like voices.com and see how many voice actors that do the in the world voice are still being
Oh
getting
yeah.
so many contracts, because it's one of those things that keeps getting asked about. And I would say the other one is that nature voice, of that.
Oh, like the David
Oh,
Attenborough.
David, who
Yeah,
just turned 100?
yeah.
Yeah.
There's this. Oh wow, that's amazing. But there's this one actor that Ori has used as well, and I have as well, and I believe David too, maybe, who does a perfect voice. But we get that get asked that a lot. So
Can you make it sound like a nature
yeah,
documentary?
yeah. No, they literally call him out by name, and then they say, "Can we get this guy?" And honestly, it
Oh,
oftentimes works, and sometimes I will say to people, "Honestly, I feel like this is kind of overdone, and I think we can do something cooler with your game." Um, but yeah, I don't know if I answered your question, but like,
no.
I tend to treat kids games or family games differently than I would, like a heavy Euro game for sure. And for the heavy Euro game, I often trick people in a way like if it has a good theme, for instance, we like to use narrative voiceover instead of a promotional voiceover. So we would
Mm,
have someone be sort of a part of that world or that era of time, and then they would sort of narrate a story. But then, as they're doing that, you might think the trailer will be very story heavy. It actually shows the gameplay unfolding as the narrative is being sort of told, and through music and voiceover. But you get to see the mechanics,
Yeah,
and
you're kind of
every
killing
time
two birds with one stone, right?
that worked
mhm.
really well, I find as well.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, and like keeping videos under, and the saddest part for me is, when you look at the numbers and the statistics, especially on campaign videos, like how many people skip or watch only the first 10 seconds, or the number basically of people finishing videos. And you see lots of people on Facebook talk about, I don't care about the video or whatever. But I also would feel proud if somebody watches the beginning, and we put a lot of emphasis on the beginning usually because of this reason, and then they decided, oh, I already know this is for me. That
Mm.
I'm very proud if we can achieve that and help the client, get that person to back the campaign, because it was just enough to sweeten the deal, and they already know it's for them.
Have you ever made a video that is purposely like almost blank in the last 30 seconds because you know that nobody's watching it?
Well, we put our logo at the end, so there you go. We
That
have a
would be
little
great though.
animation.
Just a Ferris Bueller kind of like ending, just
Or like
gap in
blooper
the
reels at the
center.
end.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
I
yeah,
Or
do love.
shawarma. You could do shawarma at the end because it's very, the Avengers,
yeah. Or
that.
Cap, yeah, Captain America talking about how you're wasting your time by hanging around, and sometimes things
Yeah,
don't pay off. Yeah,
or what is the line? We could say Onera will come again in Doomsday or whatever
Yeah,
oh
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
the
Um,
a neural return in, and then the
That's
next
what it
game
is.
that
yes,
you're
Yeah.
making a trailer for.
yeah.
Well, we
Yeah.
had a couple of trailers where we had like a post sort of credit sequence. We did that for Tomb Raider, which, by the way, you see life size Prince of Persia here, but my life size Lara is outside, next to the theater, and so I'm a huge fan. And I mean, you mentioned Aliens before, so Ori had the opportunity to work on an Aliens game, and he brought me on board.
Yes,
We
because
did
he's
the
smart.
Alien video, and he wanted Star Wars, and I got a Star Wars game. So now all I've left is Jurassic Park because I did Tomb Raider, and that was one of my favorite things we did last year because we got to work with Crystal Dynamics as well, and we got to use the actual Lara model, and we used Unreal Engine for this, and I was in heaven, of course, but yeah, we had a little post credit sequence with Lara being chased by a T Rex. We had a great time with that. But yeah, so I have left some little Easter eggs at the end of trailers before. If people see it, great.
Do you, if you're working with, say, the same designer, same company a few times, do they ask for Easter eggs? Do they say, hey, this was our last game, this is the current one. Can you just like do a little nod somewhere hidden in here? Like, do you find that you can weave that through?
So I've seen this before with companies that have multiple games that kind of do their own Easter eggs through their own card art and things
Hmm.
like that. It's a great idea to suggest to people, uh, but yeah, we haven't actually had that happen yet. But that's a really great idea to consider. Like I'm trying to think what would be really fun. We should put one of those flamecraft dragons in Andromeda's Edge. I mean, no, they do that already. Actually, yeah, never mind. Yeah, there's already dragons in Andromeda's Edge.
How do you translate the the call to action into
Mm,
the video, like,
mhm.
back now, you should back this, other than just the words, like what are you trying to do in the video to, force the viewer, or not force but coerce, I don't know, whichever word you'd rather
Yeah.
use, to
Persuade.
persuade. Yes. How does video be persuasive? There's my
So
question.
one of the interesting things is because we get hired primarily to do campaign videos, and now we also we design campaign pages as well for our subscribers only for the time being. Um, and one of the things we keep in mind is like how do we get people to scroll down and back this campaign. But the interesting thing is we also do a lot of versions of the same video that will be on YouTube or social media or the company's website, and it needs to actually take people to the campaign page. It's not already on there. So obviously, call to action sequences at the end. We tend to always think, favor ending with the beauty shot of all the components. There's another type of target audience like me who loves stuff,
Mhm.
especially if a game has a lot of stuff. That's kind of the spot where we tend to back now, or sometimes people have a call to action that relates to the campaign saying all exclusive to this campaign, or if you back or the first few people, whatever, they give the extra things. So that's kind of the call to action changes depending on the version of the video where it's going to be displayed or played back in. But if it's on the campaign page, it's actually pretty simple. It's just more like back now or back today. It sounds simple, but it's actually what most people put in their script and what we do. But at the same time, we combine it with that beauty shot with all the components, especially if the game is pretty and has a lot of things, um, to kind of put the two together. Like you get all this stuff if you back now, and so that's kind of the psychology there,
And you mentioned
which
most
always works
people.
on me.
Oh yeah, because it's like it's
As you
giving you
can see,
permission. You want to
it's
buy the
stuff.
game, but now it's like you should buy this game.
Yeah, I
Um,
was like, okay, all in.
yeah, and so on the Kickstarter page, I think it's like roughly 50% of people make their way through the video, or they get 50% through the
It's
video, something
unfortunately
along those
much less
lines.
than that. Yeah.
But there's a real big value in having a video because, as you mentioned, you can cut this thing up and then use that on your Instagram. You can use that in ads. You can use that on Facebook. You can use that in promos. I'm sure
Mhm.
when you work, and then when you're working with content creators, you can send them pieces of the video. And
Yeah.
so it sounds like the video itself is more of an overall investment than it is just a here's this cool thing to show it for like 30 seconds to a minute on your Kickstarter page.
At Gamma too, I talked with people that own stores, and we talked about the idea of playing the same videos on their stores as people are kind of, like EB Games or GameStop does the same thing with some video game trailers. I was like, why don't we encourage this as well? But you're right. So when let's say we get hired for a video, and as an example, it's going to be a live action video. What we do is we capture a lot of B-roll, a lot of the stuff that we need for the script itself, and then while we're at it, we take photos. So we try to maximize as much usage of the budget that we are spending on something. And the same happens for the animation side of things. We can generate, lots of things like animated GIFs out of that. We can generate, different ratios of versions of the video. But like you said, because we already have all these scenes, and especially if it's 3D or 2D, we like to provide the client with a bunch of different options that then they can utilize in various different ways. Because I keep telling people it's not just the one video. Think that, so for example, when we record the voice actors, or we work with voice actors in the script itself, for them, since we're going to have them record anyway, we plan for things that are not even something that could possibly happen for you, but we're like now available on Target or Amazon. Like we put a whole bunch of extra lines so then the client has the flexibility to modify the video to serve many different things. And I think that goes a long way for sure for many people.
Yeah, I kind of wish some people would put that on the game box. Like, sometimes you pick up a game and you're trying to figure it out. If there was a little QR code, they've been doing it more for rules, like learn how to play. But it'd be kind of cool if like if you had a Kickstarter trailer already, to have it on
Hmm.
the back of the box and it's just like, okay, scan it in my 30 seconds to a minute. And like, oh,
That's
now I have a
cool. I
sense of the
like
game.
that.
Oh, so that you could on something that's already on the store shelf.
Yeah, because I mean, hopefully long term, I'm assuming a lot of these are for crowdfunding, but long term, you want to make your way into Target or Amazon or somewhere else. But
Yeah.
if it's in your friendly local game store, um, it's kind of nice to just be able to flip it around and be like, oh, I could just watch the trailer right now,
That's
um,
brilliant idea. I
and see it.
love
And I
that.
haven't seen a lot of game designers do that. I've seen it for how to play videos. It's like, okay, just
Yeah.
don't want to read the rule book. Here's how to play. But that might be kind of cool.
One of the ways that
We
they might consider that is if I triple or quadruple our price, and then they would like be like, "How do we maximize
Yeah, we
this
need to get the most
this
value
content?
out of
We
this.
yes.
spent all this
We
money on
won't.
this video. We need to show it." But
So
anyway,
Sen and I
I
get
We
love that idea.
yeah.
10% off of anyone who sticks it on the box
Yeah.
just for
No,
coming up
we
with
we
the idea.
actually we actually do it on Shelf Talkers. So we
Oh,
we
nice.
will
Oh,
we
that's
will
awesome.
have that kind of thing on like you guys know what a shelf talker is, Hafiz, when I say shelf talker?
I do not think I know what it is. I have an idea, but I might be completely wrong.
Okay, so if games are on a shelf, like over here, and usually there's like a price tag that sticks out from the bottom or
Yep.
something, there'll be like a thing that says mind management, and then there'll be a little QR code on it. Watch it here or learn
That's
more here
cool.
or something, and then there's a little video. So yeah, I think like the tools that if you're a publisher and you can help the stores sell your games, that is the number one way to actually sell your games in a physical environment is when the staff know how to sell your game, right? Like nobody can sell your game probably better than you can, unless they're like very specifically a really good salesman, and so or salesperson. So any tool that you can devise, whether it's Shelf Talker, whether it's a website where retailers can download like information packs that they can use, or like if you can teach them how to play the game, therefore
Mhm.
they know how to play the game, therefore they know how to sell the game because they're speaking from a place of experience, which is why a lot of the nerdier types in this room, I think the nerd is in the room with us. We want that information and we'll go to a place where other nerds are working there to have them tell us, what do you think we'd like to play? nerd one, and they say, well, nerd two, you'd like this because you're also a very nerd like person like I am. It's the same thing like when we went to Blockbuster, we're talking about movies and stuff,
I
right?
know.
We
I
used to
used
go
to
to,
love that. Yeah.
yeah, it was one of the best things about it is that there's a nerd, a movie nerd at this movie nerd place that will tell us what movies we want to watch because we're also nerds. And they would be like a sommelier for movies. And
Yeah,
I,
I
I,
love
so
I
that.
have a really good friend from that experience. Actually, we became really close after talking movies at the Blockbuster. So
yeah,
yeah.
right. And I think that's one of the things we're losing these days.
Hmm.
Part of the culture that we're losing, that transference of information, which is through experience, right? Like when AI recommends something that I think you'll like this show because you watched X and Y and Z, maybe 6% of the time, or maybe it's probably more than six. It's like 60% of the time, they're probably right. Yeah, I will probably like that show because I just watched this show about, cops, and I watched this show about the revolution, and you're showing me Cop Revolution. Of course, I'll watch that show. But when you go and you talk to somebody who's seen this cult classic video that you've been interested in, you go, I don't know, my friends haven't watched it. Well, we watch it once a year and we do all this stuff and we love it. You're talking about a person who's actually experienced it. And I lament the loss of that kind of thing, because those were those third spaces, right? For some of us, like going to that janky ass video store where it wasn't a Blockbuster, it was like a local one, like a,
It was
a
a
small
jumbo
one.
video.
No, well,
Yeah,
not even a jumbo video. It was like even like
a
more
mom
kind
and
of,
pop
Oh, like
shop.
an
Yeah.
yeah,
independent one,
yeah,
yeah.
like an independent, like niche where they had like, the back room that had horror and stuff in it. And Jay used to work at one of these, by the way, which is, it's funny because this is very a Jay story. But like he would spend so much time like trying to make like 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 entice people to rent the weird videos that he liked.
I
He
love
would,
that.
yeah, because
That's
he's
such
like,
a good idea. I really love the idea, and
yeah,
especially if technology, people end up having more and more like AR glasses that could be really
yeah.
instantaneous, and you can just see the video. Or if we ever end up with Harry Potter newspaper thin video wall, video paper or whatever, that would be cool too.
But yeah,
Uh,
like having um parts of that initial video where maybe there's no audio, so you could have it like playing on a
mhm.
reel in the
Yeah,
store.
it's
I
like the
think,
highlights. Yeah,
yeah, I think that's a really good like value add. You can say, hey, give me 5 minutes and I can make that into that, right? Because all we're doing is taking the same assets,
yeah.
removing the audio and maybe subtitling it, and
It's
bam.
it would be the type of video a lot of people are asking us for Amazon, for
Yeah.
instance.
Hmm.
It's just one of the
Oh, do
like
you actually get that ask a lot now?
yeah, and it's becoming more and more popular. I mean, not everyone ends up on Amazon, but the people who do, it's. I think what actually propels that is Amazon themselves. They ask
Yes.
for a video, so people are like, "We need this video for Amazon now." We're like, "Okay, no worries. We'll take what we shot. We use some extra B-roll, and if it's a live action video, which
Yeah.
typically for Amazon it is, but." But even for games like we just did games that were already out, like we did Avalon, Terraforming Mars. We did like an Amazon video now for those games, which is pretty cool.
Right, for the games, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So and I'm sure it's just going to get more and more something that people will need with Target and stuff like that as well. But yeah, definitely fascinating.
Have you noticed changes in the way that storytelling has gone for games? Because you mentioned you started this 7-ish years ago.
Yes.
So between like then to now, because you also mentioned a couple games that when they first came out probably didn't need a trailer, and now they're getting a trailer. If you had made one when the game first came out, would it have been completely different from you making it right now?
So I'll tell you something. One of the most popular recipes that has stayed all throughout the 7 years that I've been doing this is that 10 to
In a
20.
world when?
Yeah, the 10 to
Yep.
20% little story, and then the rest is about gameplay. The voice changes, becomes promotional, where you had someone talk about the story, and that's still very successful. The one thing I remember back then you saw a lot more of is the people behind the game. You would see a talking
Mm,
head. Back in the day, Kickstarter especially was, one of the one of the first places that people would make these kind of videos, and oftentimes they would make it themselves, And it was about supporting the person who needed your help, right, to make this game a reality. And so you would see a lot more of that, I would say, back then. What's funny is then it became something that people didn't want anymore. They're like, well, we don't want the talking head. Talking head became like something that it was like, no, 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 shunned in a way. But now I'm saying there's, especially for the independent designers, or someone with a unique story, like, oh, I'm a father and I created this game with my child, that, or like I just worked with a mother who had this incredible idea to do a game about, how the brain synapses work, especially so helping her with her own teenage sons to deal with everyday life and how can they help each other. So she made this co-op game. So I'm like, you need to be in the video. You need to be there. People need to get to know you because I want this game just by talking to you for 2 minutes
Mhm.
and being inspired by you. So no matter how cool of a 3D thing I can do with the brain and the cool pieces of your game, that's what's going to sell your game. It's you. So if I find a unique person with a cool story, I will insist that that talking head, even though we do it in a creative way, like we did the Last of Us board game, and the team from UK, they're so cool, and they all had like this different parts of how they brought it together, and they're so passionate about the license. it was it was a really cool combination of 3D, 2D, and like them talking about the game. We shot it more
Oh
professional.
yes, Themeborn, right? Yes, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, they're so cool. They're so fun. Like great people there. Anyway, yeah. So if I identify that, I will bring back the talking head or introducing the person in the trailer, or do a trailer and then at the end of the credits you bring the person to talk, because I feel like that could sell your game sometimes better than the trailer itself.
Well, I mean, the talking head just was it wasn't on Vogue or anything. It was just that's all we had the technology to do in the early days of Kickstarter. Like nobody knew how to do like the big budget ones unless they had your skills already, right? And then once people were like, "Oh no, we have to be serious. This is money and we're making good money off of this." Then they could throw a little more money that way and it fell out of vogue, I think, not because it wasn't necessarily working,
Mhm.
but it wasn't working. Let's put it that way. But that it became like a sign of, oh, you're rinky dink or you're
Mm.
not serious or you're just some
It's
pleb.
not professional enough.
But now I think, well, yes, but now I think because like big companies are still using Kickstarter,
Yes.
that some people are like I can't fight that. There's no way I can have the same advertising budget as them. So we're gonna go a little more grassroots and have the talking head because it just makes sense for this game anyway, right? Or that's how we're saving money, and that's okay too, because our ask is not that high because we don't have an IP, we don't have this vast marketing budget. It is. I mean, I kind of miss
But
the days
you
of the
you touched on
everybody's a talking head.
something. You touched on something there that's important though, because we have such a plethora of games coming from really big publishers, as well. It could be the key to distinguishing you, um, in the sea of games that are out there. And some people, obviously, I love the big publishers as well. I know I can trust them. I know their games have been great, and I know this new one is going to be even cooler and even better components and things like that. But when I see also someone coming in with like a really cool game or idea, and then I hear their personal story, that it kind of makes me want to back it even more. So some people have the chance of standing out if we do tell their personal story, and sometimes it's up to me with experience with my clients to to say, you know what, there's something here that we should bring to the table as well. And sometimes they don't want to be a part of it. They're shy or whatever. But sometimes the people that do, we can tell that it actually makes a difference. It's not for everyone, obviously, and the big publishers will never do that because they don't need to. And then, uh, you know, it's cooler to stick to the fancy trailer type thing.
So
What
if
is
I'm
the
an indie designer,
fanciest thing that you've ever done?
Oh
Oh,
boy.
sorry, go ahead.
no, that's a way better question than my question.
Well, okay, we're coming back to yours as well. The fanciest one. Oh, So I mean, I was a big fan of what we did for Chip Theory games for Dragons of Etchinstone, which was a guy sitting on a couch, bored at home, and then all of a sudden he's in this like realm of dragons. So I was like, we channeled our Game of Thrones style there. So I don't know if that's the fanciest though. We went crazy with Starfinder as well for Paizo games, where we took their miniatures and we recreated the models, added fur on the little cat character, and it looks like a video game intro. So I'm really proud of that one. Um, yeah, I'm trying to think about fancy. Yeah, I would say that, there's a lot of stuff like that that we do that I guess there because we have different tiers as well, but we mostly do the one. But we make when we get like the budget or the the opportunity to kind of like raise the bar even more. That's always fun to see. Like, how could we do this? How could we change that? What was your
That's
question?
actually that was a perfect segue into mine actually, because you mentioned the various tiers. If
Yes.
someone's an indie game designer or they're launching their first game, or maybe they have an idea of what they want to do, and they're reaching out to someone to create a trailer, they're reaching out to you or David or Ori or
Yeah.
one of the other many awesome people, but hopefully you three first. Um, what should they be keeping in mind? Like when they're approaching you, should they already have a script in mind? Should they have a vision in mind? Um, and then what are their options? Like, is it like high end trailer or nothing? Is there a midway that's in there as well too? Can they just get the animated gifs or gifs, depending on how you pronounce it?
Yeah.
From yeah.
That's a really good question, actually. So you don't have to have anything prepared. You're already too busy making your game for all these years, and you have a lot on your table. Especially if you're planning to launch a campaign soon, that's going to be, another thing on your list. A lot of people though do come with a script sometimes, or at least with a bunch of ideas or examples of videos that they like. We can work, like I said earlier, at any capacity. So we can collaborate on a script together where we are welcoming you giving us a script that you want us to follow. And we are also happy to create something from scratch for you. And that it doesn't matter what of those options, that's all included in our price point. The price point for us for a campaign video is always the same. It's maybe sometimes not something that an independent designer or publisher has thought about allocating budget for, and that's totally okay. I'm still usually able to have a conversation with them, help them as best as I can, even suggest someone who might be closer to what their budget allows to work within. Um, but most of the time, it's not a problem, which is great. And then, yeah, at the end of the day, it's you don't have to really come with too much, except for knowledge of your game. And the other thing I would say is some people have unrealistic expectations, like, "Hey, we're launching in 2 weeks. Let's make a video." Well, as much as I would love that, and it's possible because we try to keep our production at least within 2 weeks or less for some of our subscribers, especially because we prioritize them. If you just come out of the blue, sometimes we are not able to accommodate that kind of a timeline. So I would say starting the conversation with whoever you're going to work with, or at least get an idea of what you need or what you're thinking you're going to need. I would say early enough, and that could be anywhere from a month to 4 months. I have someone launching next year that we're talking to now. So I was like, wow, this
Oh,
is great. We have lots of time to talk about this. But that would be, yeah. I hope I answered the question, but that's,
yeah, that actually raises another question about like how does that pipeline look like? So clearly,
yeah.
last minute is not a good idea. Ideally, at least a few months. And so it's I take it first. It's a conversation. From there, where does it go?
Yeah, good point. I mean, it's not like we haven't worked with extremely tight deadlines before, and these are from some of the big companies too. But so how it works is we have an initial kickoff call. Typically, we have these like documents and templates that we like to send to people to guide them most of the time. Like, these are the kinds of files that we need and what format. We usually send a component list if we're going to build your game in 3D. We need this component list that gives us the information of how many pieces of something are in there, what's the size of the box, the size of the, how many dice, if there's any materials that are unique. Hey, we're doing metal tokens, or there are wooden meeples, things like that. So that list becomes our checklist for when we build the game in 3D. And then the other template is the script. So we have a few questions about the target audience in there. We go through that on the first kickoff call. And ideally, within a week, we finalize the script together and we have the check component list ready from the client's end to tell us what components need to be created and shown in the video. And then if there's any 2D artwork that we will animate or bring to life, we would, also receive those files in if they exist in layers. Some artists don't work in layers, which is more challenging for us, but we do this anyway. So yeah, once we get all the material basically and the script finalized, hopefully within the first week, then we can get started. What we do is then build the game in 3D if we're making a 3D video. While that's happening, we're animating the 2D artwork if there's 2D artwork to be animated within the video. And then after that phase, which takes about a week, then we animate the scenes in 3D that are required to be, to tell the story or move the components or the gameplay sections. And then we go into the editing phase. The editing phase is the last week. So between 2 to 3 weeks is usually a good time estimate from the initial kickoff call, I would say. And the final edit happens with combining all of those elements. If it's a live action shoot, we will search for the location. Oftentimes we shoot it here at my home because I have a cool table and it looks like a game room, and most people want to shoot here. Get the actors to come over, and then we obviously would have the script, same phases as far as the script goes. And then, of course, we need the game. So if you have a prototype to send us to shoot that you're comfortable with us shooting, then by the time that arrives, then we make sure that we have it in hand before we plan the shoot, and then it's just editing after that. Yeah.
So, have you found that people have their own digital assets now that everybody's kind of making the TTS version and whatnot? Do people come ready with those ready made, or are you still having to make a lot yourself?
So no, most people do have them already, and TTS is a great example because one of the things we usually ask for is like, can you show us what the game looks like set up or halfway through or whatever? And most of the time, people will have it on TTS, or we even play it with them just so we can get to know what the game is like.
I was
And
going to ask, do you do that too? Yeah,
yeah, I
obviously,
mean
makes
that's
sense.
part of the fun of being in the game industry, I guess. I like people will be complaining, "Oh, I have 4 meetings today." I'm like, "Oh, me too," but we're playing a game, and so I'm not allowed to complain anymore. But yeah, I would say yeah, a lot of people have the files already. The interesting thing is even our component list is sometimes the same list that they send to the printer,
Hmm.
because they have to outline what's in the game anyway and the sizes and all that. So um, the only thing sometimes that catches people off guard is that we need everything in RGB versus CMYK, and then, so we have to do the conversion. But if it's already as a PDF, it's not so bad because you can export PNGs from there. But anyway, we provide them with a guide of how it all works, and we try to be there as best as possible to help with that. But most of the people have no issues.
That's great.
And I should also add, and a lot of people, I should say, sometimes don't have everything ready,
Hmm.
or things change last minute. You know what, George? We just, I know you just finished rendering everything, but the box has changed, and we decided that these tokens are now custom, and there's a die cut line and all that. So sometimes we have to go back and redo things, but it's in the nature of the industry, so we've come to expect this. And how many times the videos you'll see on our website, and then you see the final game, it doesn't look the same anymore because they have changed it since then.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've actually done
Yeah, and I mean,
videos
I think,
well after this.
obviously, yeah, that
Sorry, go
that
ahead.
people are
I
used
see
to
I
that
interrupted
now,
you.
so I think it's okay. No, it's okay. Um, so if you could tell prospective customers, do you give them the checklist, or like what would you tell them? Come to us when you're ready with this stuff. What is the stuff you'd want them to come to you with?
hmm So yeah, we have I call it a handy on your checklist, and it's very simple actually. It's literally that component list I mentioned. We suggest sort of a folder structure on something like Dropbox to put their stuff in. we used to just get access to their working folders, and typically it's such a mess, or we don't want to mess anything up ourselves by going in there. So we always say, this way you know what you've given us. So it's in a separate folder just for our team. So yeah, the checklist kind of goes through those things. We want to remind them, like, we would love to have your logos, and even before this, me coming here, you sent me a handy email with a checklist of things you needed. So similarly, we do the same thing. Um, yeah, and for the most part, people follow it, and it just makes things easy on both sides. So we don't go searching and hunting for things last minute, or then they see the video and they're like, "Oh my gosh, you're missing an entire board we didn't tell you about." you know? I know you guys had more questions for me, I think.
Wait, sorry, I think I froze for a second.
I was wondering if Hafiz
Um,
is frozen. You did.
no, I caught the tail end of that, but I heard more questions, George. I feel like we could talk to you for hours and hours and hours. Um, but we're also cognizant of the time because I think we're actually right at the end
Oh
time,
wow,
which
the
is
time went
crazy
by
because
quickly.
it felt like we just hopped on 5 minutes ago. But we usually like to get the guests to share some final advice. So it could be about anything. It doesn't need to be about trailers. If you want to give advice on movies or on just, planning a trip to Greece, you can do that as well too. But yeah, any final words?
Any advice? Honestly, I feel like in this day and age, the best advice I can give people is, I know there's so much going on in the world, and a lot of people seem to be, it feels like they put it all on their shoulders. And whether you already have stress because of work, or you're trying to achieve your dreams, or there's family situations, there could be health situations, but also the state of the world feels heavier than usual these days. So what I try to do is focus on the people and the things that I love to do, and that includes work. So I've always been a positive guy, which has been hard lately sometimes to stay positive. But I just kind of look back. I mean, I'm 46 now, so I just look back in my life. I'm just very grateful for the path and the journey. And if I relate it and tie it into Oniro and this call about our company and what we offer people and things, I'm just very grateful that I kind of stuck and followed my gut instincts and my dreams, and I never gave up. And I think people should do the same. And there's many people out there maybe watching who are working on their game. I've been privileged and humbled to witness people's journeys from somebody who nobody knew before, who had a vision and an idea for a game, to now working on their fifth game, and they're super successful at it. And I don't know, I'm really privileged to be at that position and watching these companies and people grow and quit their jobs and do this full time. And I did the same thing, and I'm just here to say, like, it can happen, and just don't give up and stay positive. And as far as further advice, or if you want to know more about what you can do with video or how we could help, I'm always available to chat. Even if we don't end up working together, I might even recommend you to Ori or Dave. But yeah,
Awesome. And so we might need to do a part two at some point.
well, if you mentioned movies and stuff, we could do an episode just on that.
Excellent. All right, everybody, we're gonna sign out now. We'll up here. If you want to chat with me, you can find me on Blue Sky at Senfeng Lim. On Instagram, you can find Hafiz where?
On Instagram at Printer Ink Games.
There you go. And we're also at Maple Syrup on all the things if you want to see who's coming up next. And you can find George's information at www. Can you say that in Greek, please?
Oniro.com.
Oniro.com. Yeah. And we've already got the final advice. If you want to help keep the lights on here, you can go to patreon.com/maple syrup. And Hafiz, can you tell our wonderful audience who is here next week or in the weeks
Yeah,
after
so
that?
we have Eric from Eric Goes Gaming. He is an up and coming game designer from Ontario. He's got a game about superheroes, but you can also turn into a supervillain. That is going to be coming up. I think he's planning a Kickstarter in the next few months, and so We're going to have him on. He's a content creator. He's an awesome guy in general. So we're going to talk about his journey as an indie game designer trying to make their way through to launch their dream.
That's
There we
awesome.
go. Excellent. All right. We'll talk to everybody soon. See you here next week. Same time, same place. Bye.